Hello, this is balancedpyro, and welcome back to my D&D Beginner's Guide. This is the final topic, and we'll be discussing spells. Spells can be the most difficult thing to learn, and hopefully this opinion or guide will help you through it. Spells have a wide range of abilities, ranging from attack, illusion, enchantments, and that can be really complicated. If you want to, if you're just starting out, focusing on something could be the best option. Or what I like to do is spread out my powers, take good attack spells, take good enchantment spells, and I think it can be really fun. Now, if this is your first time and looking at a spell list, and you see a spell in its description, you might be thinking about like some questions like, what else can it do? And for that, you just need to look in the spell description. It's pretty straightforward, but I've actually got some people asking me that. And when you look at it, you'll see certain things. One of them is called components and has a bunch of letters. Some of the components are verbal, somatic, material, focus, divine focus. Verbal means you need to speak. Somatic means you need to use your hands. Materials is pretty straightforward. Focus means you need to focus on the spell, you can't be distracted. Divine focus is basically you need some kind of religious artifact. This usually only applies to clerics and paladins. Unless you're some other god-focused class, which in 3.5 I don't recall any, but in Pathfinder there's another one. I just off the top of my head I cannot remember what it is. So, verbal. One thing you need to know is magic technically has its own language, and so if you're stuck speaking a certain language, you cannot speak the language of magic. So, if you have a penalty where you can only speak common, you cannot really cast spells. It also works where the player, not the character, if you physically cannot speak in a certain location, you can cast verbal. For example, if you're underwater, you cannot cast. If you cannot speak underwater, you cannot cast spells. And so that's the easiest way to relate if verbal will work or not. Is if the player cannot speak, the character should not be able to speak unless certain things apply. For example, if you can speak underwater, you can cast spells underwater. Somatic is hand gestures. Most things DMs do to get rid of that is to bound your hands. One thing to be aware of, though, is that enchantments, conjurations require certain like ninjutsu kind of things where you move your hands, while most attack spells require you to point. So even if your hands are bound like this, you can still point. So just be aware of that. Although it would probably be you will most likely get a penalty. It's usually DM's discretion. I allow them to point. If they're free, if your hands are in like a bag, you're out of luck. Materials are certain spells require a certain material to cast with. Burning Hands, for example, is burnt leather. Now, if you're looking up and down the equipment for the certain material you need, but you can't find it anywhere, there is an item called the Spell Component Pouch. This includes all materials for all spells unless otherwise stated. So if there's a material and you look into the equipment and you actually find the material and the price, it's not in the component pouch. If you do not, it's in it. Makes life simple. Focus. Basically, if you're focusing on something and like the roof starts caving in, you need to do a concentration check. It requires focus. These usually are a round kind of spell. It's not like a standard action spell. And like I said with Divine, it's usually a magical item, kind of religious symbol. And there are many other things that the spell description will say. For example, saves. This is if you're targeting someone, they have a chance to resist the spell. It might also say spell resistance, which is if the creature is particularly immune to spells, you have to overcome their spell resistance for the spell to take effect. Other things are range and the type of it, meaning self, target. If it's a ranged like attack, it'll tell you the range, it'll tell you if it's a touch or not. Things like that. And so when you're looking at the list, there's things you can do with almost any spell that not many players do, but they can have its advantage. These can be done with any spells in general, not just look at a spell that has a special thing. I might have gotten that mixed up, but I might have told it to get confused. Anyway, off topic. One of them is called Readying a Spell. This is a unique spellcaster ability, I guess you can call it. It's similar to holding an action, except it becomes an immediate. Instead of you saying, I'm going this place, I want to wait till after this my ally goes so I can do, like if you're a cleric, heal him, or like attack afterwards, where it takes your full turn. Readying an action negates your standard action. It can only be done with standard actions. Meaning, if you are a sorcerer, let's say you're level 1 sorcerer and you chose Burning Hands. It's a 30-foot cone. No enemies are in your 30-foot cone though. But they might. So what you can do is you can move and ready Burning Hands. Meaning, you're in a position you think people might come across, and you're getting ready to cast a spell. And so when they come, people keep on moving, take your turns, and if an enemy comes through your area or into the area of where your Burning Hands could be, you can immediately cast it. Meaning, if they're stopping in a square that Burning Hands would hit, you can immediately cast it for damage. If they're passing through the zone where you could hit with Burning Hands, you can immediately cast it. It's a very useful and often underlooked thing, because usually you're just going to go and attack. It's very good if you're defending, and especially for Burning Hands, because it gets very powerful early on. Another thing is that it does not have to be for attack. If you think a powerful attack is coming, but you're not sure, you can ready Mage Armor, and when you know you're about to get attacked, as an immediate action, you can give yourself +4 armor bonus. It's a really handy thing. Another thing is counterspelling, where if you're fighting another spellcaster, say you're a sorcerer fighting another sorcerer, and they're casting a spell at an ally, you can do a roll to identify the spell, and then if you have the spell, you can counter it. Meaning, if he's going to do Lightning Bolt, you identify it, you can cast your Lightning Bolt and negate it. It's very hard to do, but it's very effective. There's also feats in Pathfinder, I'm not sure about 3.5, where you can take any level of any level spell that's the same as one being cast. So if they're doing Lightning Bolt, you can do Fireball, and it's very helpful. And so those are a few of the things that when you're beginning of spells you should take note of. They will help you. Some DMs aren't even aware of that, like the last two, so that can catch them off guard, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm a big spellcaster fan. And after I end here, I'm going to attach a video of how I make a spell sheet. This is balancedpyro. I hope you enjoyed. Okay, so the normal character sheet spells that I do not like because they're extremely small. Years ago I decided to create my own. This worked out well. Sorry if I'm a little shaky. This camera it's not the best, but here's what I do. Here's my spell list. Spells known, first level, and I have second level. And here's my first level spells: Comprehend Languages, Burning Hands, and Orb of Fire. Now, here's what I do. At first level, the first parenthesis is how many spells of that I get per day. So next to it, this is saved, and that's 17, which applies to everything. This is under the impression that I do not have any specific modifiers targeting certain types of classes or schools. So I have Comprehend Languages. It's the D&D Player's Handbook, page 212, and it's spoken or written. It can be spoken or written, and it's a touch. So what this means is, the way I set it up is I have the spell, the page is located, a brief summary of what it does, and what it targets, or the range. Moving down to Burning Hands, it's page 207, Player's Handbook. It's 1d4 per level, max 5, 15-foot cone, so that's the damage, and the cone's the radius. Orb of Fire, 1d8 per 2 levels, max 5, range touch. Here's the range of it: 25 feet plus 5 feet per 2 levels. Scorching Ray, and it's basically the same thing over and over again. So, I accidentally forgot to put the book Orb of Fire is on. It's in the Complete Arcane though, and so that's why I put PH, because with D&D and Pathfinder you can get different spells from different books, and so it's helpful to look them up. By the way, the page number is the page where the spell description is on, not just the spell. So it'll give you everything you need. So, as you can see, it's spells known, so this would be something a sorcerer would have. And here's what I do. For level 1, I get 4 spells per day. So let's say me and my group are walking through ancient ruins, and we come across this ancient writing that no one can read. Well, I have Comprehend Languages. I'm going to cast that. So what I do is I put a 1. So you can actually see that. I put a 1. And that lets me know how I've cast 1 of the 4 I know. Now, let's say we're getting into combat, and they're a little far away, so I'm going to hit them with an Orb of Fire. That's 2, showing that I've cast 2 spells of that level per day. Now, they're still far away, so Scorching Ray. I'm going to cast that once a day. Once, because it's my second level for the day. And still not dead, I'm going to cast my second. So, let's see if I can get focused. There. So I cast 2 second level, and I only have 2 second levels, so I can no longer use Scorching Ray or Levitate. I still have level 1 though. And I've cast 2, so I have 2 left. That's how I do it. Use pencil, that way you can erase every day. And when you flip it, this is spells per day, meaning for like a cleric or druid. And as you see, first level I get 7 saves are 17. I have Bane, which is the Player's Handbook, -1 attack plus fear, areas 50 feet, it's a will save. Vigor Lesser, it's 186, complete divine, which is a different book than the Player's Handbook, and it gives you that. Sanctuary, and for clerics, or if you take the druid thing, I have domains. Now, domains I put separately because you have to take them as a cleric. One thing I recommend for spells per day is, if you're doing this, copy down all the spells you like, because you can change them every day. So, I have all these spells are the ones I like: Bane, Vigor, Cure Light Wounds, and Sanctuary. And for my domain, Calm Animals. For second level, I have Bear's Endurance, Hold Person, and Sound Burst. And if I was a cleric, I'd put domain below Sound Burst. So, it's early morning. We're getting ready for a long, treacherous journey. It's going to be a lot of combat, and I have to prepare 7 spells a day. Unlike spells known, just numbering them will not work. So here's what I do. Let's say I want to be a team player, and I want to bane people. So I'm going to do 2 slashes, because I want to create 2. Healing will always be nice, so I'm going to do 2 Vigor Lesser and 2 Cure Light. Now, there might be animals we're fighting, so obviously it's domain, you have to take it. Domain is not, I do not count domain as the number of spells per level. I count everything else but domain. So, as you can see, I have 2 Bane, 2 Vigor Lesser, 2 Cure Light Wounds. Let's go with 1 Sanctuary, and let's have 1 Sound Burst, 2 Hold Person, and a Bear's Endurance. So, we're going in, and we automatically come to a very tough enemy. So I am going to bane them. So what I do, since I marked this diagonal, make sure if you mark them this way, they're all going in the same direction. I cast 1 bane spell, so I'm going to make an X. That shows that that spell is no longer viable. So I'm going around. Lots of healing needs to be done, so I'm going to use both my Cure Light Wounds. There's 2 X's, meaning I do not have those spells prepared for the rest of the day. It's pretty straightforward like that. We need some Constitution, so I'm going to use the Bear's Endurance. And like I said, pencil, but doing it this way, I like it because it actually lets you visualize, like, if there's no X, you still have that spell available. Although, sorry, this pencil is very hard to see. And as a recap, I really only put what I feel is necessary, which is the page of the spell description and the book it's in, brief summary, area and save. All the rest, if you really need it, you can look it up. I really hope you enjoyed this. See you